comments that I want to make sure is there, because I'm going to draw your attention to it in a second. All right, so there it is. Stay tuned. All right, everybody, welcome. I am Elena. Most of you know me, at least by being members of this community. Many of you I know in person, and I am delighted that you are here to explore this idea of nurturing your core values to thrive. So let's talk about why, right? Why core values? Why am I inviting you to spend your precious time focusing on core values as a way to thrive, right? You might have no idea. I am going to share bits and pieces of my core values journey with you throughout this. And what I would offer is that focusing on my core values has dramatically shifted the way that I show up for myself in my work and in the work that I do with my clients, both individually and in groups like the CUBU Circle or the Thrive Circle. It gives us a platform, a tool, a way to filter information. Okay, so as you're all coming in, that's kind of the preface that I want to offer, is that core values, they're a practice. They are already something that's within you. It's just a matter of being able to tune into them so that then you can nurture them. And by doing that in my life, I can be more intentional. I can be more purposeful. And I can stay rooted in who I am rather than trying to do all the things. So Tina says, my mother is COVID-19 positive, and I'm struggling to be motivated to get my work done. Well, first off, Tina, we're going to send all the healing and energy to your mom and to you and to all the healthcare workers that are supporting her. And yes, right, this motivation, core values can help with that, because knowing what it is that makes you the truest version of you is motivating and helps you really get rooted in and anchored in what that looks like for you. So thank you for sharing that, Tina. Okay. So most of you know that I've been doing this life coaching work for a while, just to give you a sense of where we're going, right? I'm going to introduce myself just in case somebody isn't familiar a little bit with me. I'm going to give you a way to set yourself up for success before we even dive into the content. And then we're going to explore, what are core values? Why are they important? You made it, Natalie. Welcome. Yay. What are they? Why are they important? How do you unearth them? And then how can you begin to attune and embody to your core values? And then we're going to talk about kind of your next steps. Your first next step is to set yourself up for success. So if you scroll up in the comments, you'll see I put a comment there with a link. This is to a discovery call with me. This is not a sales call, you guys. This is a discovery call so that you can get on my calendar to chat about whatever questions you have and how to integrate this core values conversation into your life. Put it on your calendar now. Make it a thing. I'm sharing this because I will tell you that for some people, this core values work is not easy. For most of us, it's not easy. It's also not just going to happen in one sitting. Okay. So to get support along the way is really helpful. And that's what I would love to do for you. So click that link, get on my calendar, schedule a 30-minute discovery call so that we can really hone in and focus on your core values. Okay. And helping you figure out what those are. So that's the setting yourself up for success. So let's talk about what is a core value, or what is a core value? So I found this quote by Barb Markway and Celia Ample in the, there goes Jupiter, in the self-confidence workbook. And they say, values are the principle that give our lives meaning and allow us to persevere through adversity. Okay. That maybe resonates with you. What I would offer is that your core values are the tendencies, they are the traits, they are the attributes that help you persevere, that make you uniquely you. They're the things that you rely upon when, during the peak moments, during the difficult moments, and everything in between. Without nurturing your core values, you feel less you. When you're fully engaged in your core values, you feel totally plugged into yourself. Okay. Natalie says, you wanted to join because I'm in part to you. I love that you started your podcast and that it's related to your core values. And Natalie, I would love for you to share why and how you know it's related to your core values. Very good. Thank you. Yay. Hello, Cara. All right. So values are these attributes. They are these tendencies. They are these principles that allow us to persevere and to give our lives meaning. Okay. So let's think about why we should nurture them, right? Why is this important? Well, in short, because if we don't nurture them, we're not showing up as our aligned to our truest selves. Okay. Alignment, to sync up with these versions of you, is what helps you show up and be purposeful and be motivated and tap into these things on any given day. I will tell you that my core values journey started when a mentor, this is back in 2015, asked me what my core values were. And I was like, I don't know. 2016, let's say. And so I did this work and I went back and I realized, and my core value words have evolved from that first time I did them to more recently, because I think I have a better understanding of what those words actually mean for me now. Not that I think my values per se have changed, but my understanding of them have changed. And what I realized was the times of my life where I was truest to myself and thriving literally from the inside out. It didn't mean everything was rainbow and unicorns and sunshine in my life, but it meant that I was doing those things that lit me up and that I felt purposeful and motivated and connected, were when I was aligned with these core values. The times in my life when I was the farthest from myself, times where I dealt with some very mild, not clinical depression, times where, frankly, my marriage was in trouble, times, well, my first marriage when I was, deciding whether or not to leave my first husband. And even when I was much younger in college, and after college, the times in my life where I was not nurturing my core values, I felt off. Something wasn't right. I wasn't feeding those parts of myself. Does that make sense? Um, Hi, Lisa. Welcome. So that's the why, okay? And I found this fabulous quote by Melly O'Brien, who does a lot of work on mindfulness, that said, when the way you think, speak, and behave match your values, life feels very good. You feel whole, content, and in your power. But when these don't align with your personal values, then things feel wrong. Life feels uneasy. Perhaps you feel out of touch, discontented, and restless. Okay, so I loved that kind of description. So let me share with you, as we kind of move into this, what my core values are and why I know and how I nurture them to help me stay closest to myself, right? So my core values are commitment, freedom, curiosity, and delight. And what I realize is the peak and trough moments in my life. So I was riding the Peloton. I'm going to digress for a minute. 2 days ago, maybe yesterday, and the Peloton instructor, Matt Wilpers, who's an athletic coach, said, you can't have the peaks without the troughs, right? Hi, Holly, welcome. So I'm thinking about peaks and troughs. All of those peaks and my lowest points, the troughs, have been when I have been connected to these core values or when I have been disconnected. So, for instance, a big, huge pivot in my life when I decided I was going to start exploring coaching was a day that I had, unbeknownst to me, right? But now looking back, all of my values were a part of what I was doing. I was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming for a half marathon. Some of you have heard this story. And the very first day of our trip, we were having breakfast. I look up the mountain and there are these paragliders. Parachutes. I didn't know what they were at the time, coming down the mountain. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so we go up the mountain, we take the gondola ride, and we're there to explore. And instead of looking at the Grand Tetons, I am focused on these parachutes. So that was curiosity, right? Me being curious, also delighted. I was like swept away by this. The entire weekend then became about my commitment to do that thing, to get onto one of those paraglides with one of those instructors and come down the mountain. And then when I was in the air, there was a sense of freedom, expansiveness, also delight, right? So many things that I was feeling. So that one moment, I literally was like infusing my entire being with all four of my values. The same holds true to moments where I haven't been quite myself, where something about my commitment has been off, perhaps to myself, perhaps to others, perhaps to my family. And we're going to get into what your words mean to you, because my version of freedom is going to be different than your version of freedom. Okay. And that's really important. And so I'm going to pause that and we're going to explore that in a little bit. But I wanted to share that with you because this idea of these 3 to 5 words that make us uniquely us. It doesn't mean you don't have other values, but it's the ones that are most important. Hello, Athena. Your core values are integrity, honesty, showing up fully committed, and motivated to push through challenges. Awesome. And I love how Holly and Natalie are reconnecting. That makes my heart happy. Okay. And some of you might have seen, I've posted in a few different places. I'm wearing these really fabulous cheetah print shoes. I might even flash them in a second because they infuse me with delight. And so today I was like, well, if I'm, I want to be infused with delight. And so I'm literally attuning and embodying one of my core values because of the pair of shoes that I'm wearing. So many different things. All right. So let's think about, right, how do you unearth your core values? Now, there are a few of you in this group that have played with this. And it is not necessarily an easy process. You can raise your hand. I will not call you out, but you can raise your hand if that's you. And the reason that sometimes it's hard for us to name our core values is because it is challenging and scary to name the parts of ourselves that make us truly us. Because if we name them, then we have an opportunity to tap into it. Whereas if we say we don't know, then it's like an easy pass, right? So let's think about the how. Hi, Sally, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Oh, you guys, all the people, makes my heart full. So here are some ways. Now, I will tell you, if you Google how to find my core values, there are lists and lists and lists of words. I even have a list of words, and I'm happy to send it to you. But I would encourage you to not go there first, because there's some personal exploration that I think helps you tap into this. So there are some questions, and if you want these questions written down, you can write them down since I can't show you my slides right now, or I'm going to put my email into the comment box and you can email me right now while you're watching, and I you, I'm going to send you a bunch of things if you email me, including these questions and a way to then continue to embody them, but we'll talk about that later. So, first question is, consider the moments in your life when you felt completely yourself, right? You were doing, this could be a small moment, it could be a big moment, it could be when you were younger, in high school, in college, it could be recently. And I would encourage you to brainstorm these moments. Okay, come up with a list of like 5 or 10, the moments where you felt completely yourself, at home in your being. Okay, so that's the first thing to brainstorm. Perhaps you can think about, Athena says, values are the principles that allow us to persevere and give our lives meaning. Absolutely, right? So you can brainstorm right now. What are some of those moments where you have felt completely yourself? Hello, Rajika, welcome. So that's the first question to kind of pose to yourself. Moments where you felt completely yourself. The next place to brainstorm are your pride moments. So, and some of them might be the same, but what are those moments in life where you just have felt so much pride for yourself? This is the tricky thing for some of you, right? For a lot of us. What are those pride moments? Those moments where you just are bursting with pride. Okay. So, first 2 ways, moments where you feel completely yourself and pride moments. You're just making a brainstorm, right, of these things. The next is moments or experiences or interactions with people, which are moments or experiences that have angered, frustrated, or saddened you. Okay, so I will actually tell you that I came upon my core value of commitment with this brainstorm of the moments or experiences that have angered, frustrated, or saddened me. Because if I think about one of the things that has most gotten my goat up, for lack of a better term, it's been in moments where I have interacted with people that have not been loyal or committed to a relationship, to their work, to a project, right? I tend to have I have a harder time working with people. And in fact, one of the reasons I have discovery calls with people that are thinking about doing coaching with me is to kind of ask questions. Because if I know you're somebody, or if I realize that you're somebody who doesn't necessarily follow through, there's some accountability, there's some things that we can nurture, so that doesn't necessarily exclude you. But if I start to see some patterns, then you may not be the best fit for me, and I may not be the best fit for you, if that makes sense. This hit home for me in a personal situation within my family, where there was something that I didn't speak to a member of my family for 6 months, give or take, because of something they had done that was directly in contrast with the idea of commitment. And so if I think about that period of time in my life, it also removed me the most from me, because I became this person that wasn't talking to this individual who I adore and have so much love for. But in that moment, I couldn't see any of that, right? Because this thing that had happened was so against what I perceived was right. And so thinking about some of those moments, these are the things you can't stand for. Like, they're the things that you would stand up on a soapbox and just proclaim. Okay, so when you think about the moments, experiences, or people, the interactions that have angered, frustrated, or saddened you, that can give you information. No sad face, it gave me information. That can give you information as to what your core values are. Okay, there are also times in my life where I will tell you that I have not been committed to myself, to things that I've said were important to me. And those are the times where I was farthest from myself. Okay. So another thing to consider, just in terms of this brainstorm, so we have moments where you felt completely yourself, your pride moments, the moments or experiences that have angered, frustrated, or saddened you. And then consider who your personal heroes are. Hi, Lulu, welcome. Your personal heroes, right? The people that when you look at and you admire, and these could be people you know, they could be celebrities, they could be historical figures, whoever it is, who are your personal heroes, right? So this is all a brainstorm to begin to collect information, to begin to unearth what those values are that are important to you. And once you have that brainstorm, you move to step 2, which is the why, right? It gets into looking at all of those moments, those people, those experiences, and thinking about why is that moment or that hero important? What do they represent? What does that moment represent? Okay. With that, right, you can think about what stands out about that moment and what values are reflected in that moment that are important to you. So even in those things that frustrate, sadden you, right? What's the value that you're reflecting? And what's the value that they are not embodying that is getting you so frustrated? Okay. So the why here is so important, right? Because that's what starts to take all of these brainstorm moments and begin to put it into this lens and filter that become, think of it like a funnel, right? You have all the big stuff, and then you begin to kind of sift through what is this really about? What stood out about this, right? Once you have that, you start getting information. Certain words are going to stick out to you, certain value words, right? And you're going to start noticing themes. And the themes are what's really important because your core values are not a list of 20 things. Your core values are 3 to 5 usually. Okay. And so as you start really examining this brainstorm, asking the why, what was it about that stood out? What values were reflected there? What values weren't reflected there? Then you look for themes. Okay. And kind of categories, right? And then start moving into your own definition. So you might have a group of things that you want to bring together. And you need to think about why those things are important to you. So that's where your personal definition. So, for instance, freedom, right, means a lot of different things to me. It means expansiveness, but it also means fostering self sufficiency or embodying self sufficiency, right? So, there are a lot of times in my life where I have not felt that. But when I realized that self sufficiency and cultivating that in others, helping people use their voice to be unapologetic, helping me tune in to being unapologetic and magnifying my voice, right? These are moments of freedom. Okay. Freedom is also being able to do the things that matter to you without worrying about or taking other people's perspectives and taking them on without discernment. So, freedom to me is also about discernment, which, so here's, remember, I told you before that my value words have shifted. In my first version, discernment was one of my value words. And that felt really important to me. And yet, what I realized was it's being able to discern that offers me freedom or that helps me cultivate freedom in how I show up in my life, in my work, my personal relationships, in my body. Okay. So you start identifying what these words mean to you. Okay. Commitment. Yes, there's commitment to marriage, to relationships, to work, but there's also commitment to myself. There is a trust when it comes to commitment. All right. And if I think about, right, a lot of you know that one of my things is that sunrise in your pocket, right? Honoring that strength and wisdom, that power that is intrinsically yours, that's always with you every step you go. That's a commitment to honoring that. Okay. So you start to look for the themes, you come up with your own definition, your list begins to narrow, right? And you start to come up with little chunks, pockets that you will find the word that works for you. Now, if you like words, at this point, that a good time to go through these lists of like 150 words. And if you want one of those lists, I have one and I'd be happy to share it with you. Okay. You have my email. It's in the comment box. Scroll up. You can shoot me an email right now. And when we get off, or actually after 3 o'clock, I will send it to you. All right. So you start to narrow your list and you really come up with 3 to 5. And this is where we experiment and where we play, because this isn't something you're going to do in one setting. I will share with you that the first time I did this exercise, I actually started with a list. The second time is when I thought about all the experiences. But the first time I started with a list of 150, and the instructions on the list said go from 150 to 10. And I was like, yeah, no. So I went from 150 to 32. Over the course of like 2 or 3 days, I would go through the list, I would star things, I would circle them, and I'd kind of go through and I'd see what words still percolated. And then I moved those 32 off the list into my journal. I wrote all the 32 down. I'm like, okay, went through that list of 32. And I think I probably got it to maybe 30. I took a few off. But then what happened was I started to categorize. So I started to look for similarities, for patterns, for themes. And so I started to rearrange things into little groups. From 32, I went to 10. From 10, I went to 5. Okay. So this takes time, and I would give yourself time to do this, right? I want to share a quote with you from Mike Rowe, who, because one of the things in terms of the why, right, how the core values plays in, he says, happiness does not come from a job. It comes from knowing what you truly value and behaving in a way that's consistent with those beliefs. So back to the why of doing this, right, and your core values being able to be something that you then attune to and embody. So let's talk about that. How do you attune to and embody a core value? Right? Well, so I told you guys, I'm totally going to show you. Look what I have on today. Can you see my shoes? So these shoes, that's it. That's all I got. Bring me delight. So I am literally attuning to delight by wearing these shoes. Okay. And then I am embodying delight. Wow. You guys, I have my phone over here so I can see your comments, and it's like on delay. And so it just came up. I'm kind of loving because I couldn't actually see what I was doing. So it just cracked me up, which also brings me delight. So how do you attune, right? The first step is you need to know how these core values make you feel, right? And I'm so glad you love this process, Natalie. Yeah, right. It is part of the kind of that visioning. Absolutely. Okay. So how do you attune? You need to know what they are. You need to know how these values make you feel. Okay. Then you can consider how to infuse your day, your week, your month, whatever period of time you want to look at, with those feelings and with those values. I have, as part of the Thrive Journal, let me see if I can show you a clean page, the weekly pages in the Thrive Journal. And I am happy to send you this. You just have to shoot me an email. And the email is in the comments. I will post it again. But there's the brain dump page, which a lot of you know and love. Then there is this page where it talks about my intention for the week. So how it is you want to feel during the week. Your core values, right? So there are 4 boxes. If you have more than 4, you can create an extra space. So I write each of my core values in one box. And then I think about, what is that going to look like this week? So let me show you on this week's page. You can't actually read my writing, but that's okay. So commitment, right? So I'm committing to my daily inner practices. I'm also committing to daily audacious actions. And I'm doing those things because they're important to me, but also from the lens of committing to myself, to doing the things that I say are important. Freedom, right? I wrote, I create space and cultivate possibilities. That's a reminder to me of how it feels to cultivate freedom. I'm tracking evidence of my freedom. I'm looking for examples of how my version of freedom shows up. And there's a reminder that I wrote to myself, where I go and my success depends entirely on who I choose to be today. That's all about discernment for me, okay? Curiosity, right? Brainstorming is how I infuse this core value a lot. Delight, savoring time with my new car. Some of you know or don't know that I got a new car on Monday night. I haven't really talked about it because it seems a little tone deaf in the current state of things, and yet I have this fabulous new car. But I haven't done that yet, so I'm going to savor time with my new car. But so I was kind of pre-planning, right? This is a place to pre-plan how you're going to show up for your core values and how you're going to infuse your intention with your core values. And then there's this section to live my intention and core values. So for each day, right, I kind of use this section as like a planner, but you could use this as a noticing. So at the end of the day, right, what went well towards infusing and nurturing those core values into your day? What could you do, right? What that look like? And so this is a really fabulous tool to make it something that you interact with, because you guys, here's the thing. You can't nurture your core values to thrive by creating a list and letting it just live in a journal somewhere. You got to interact with these on a daily basis. I cannot say that enough. If you do that, your life will change. I will guarantee you that. If you write them into a journal and forget about what they are, they haven't really done anything for you. I mean, I'm going to sound a little harsh. I don't often sound harsh, but I love that you guys are hearting that. So yay. Yes, and I'm seeing some comments. So Tina says, I would say asking a third party who knows you well. Absolutely, right? Yes, ask somebody you trust, okay? Not somebody who's just going to tell you what you want to hear. Hi, Linda. Lisa says she just ordered an embroidery kit. Yes, I love it. It filled you with delight. I'm so glad. You need to buy this journal. That can be arranged. We can figure that out, Natalie. I would love for you to have this, everybody. So here's what I'm going to put in the comment box again, my email, so that you can email me and I will send you the template of these weekly pages digitally that you can start with that. If journal is something that you're in, put back in the chat box if you missed the beginning. They'll to schedule a discovery call with me, because to continue to integrate this conversation, support can be helpful. And one of the reasons, so to Tita's comment before of asking someone, one of my favorite things to do is to work with somebody who says, I'm really struggling to hone in on what my core values are. And I'm like, okay. So we talk about what they've been through, and these are usually my clients. But oftentimes I assign the core values work as homework. So the Thrive Circle, which is assembling on the 19th, in case anybody really wants to take a 7-week dive into your core values, for real, I assign it as homework, right? Because it is time consuming on a personal level. You have to go back and it percolates. And yet that can really be a struggle. So what I'll do is I'll start to say, talk to me about some of these moments that we've brainstormed, right? The pride moments, the connected moments, the frustrated, angry, sad moment, the heroes. And I start to listen for values and I take notes. And when they say, well, I just don't know, I'm like, so here's what I heard. And oftentimes that can help unlock oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. Or no, that's not what I meant, but this. Okay, so that's one of the things we can do together in a discovery call, at least start to get that conversation. You're so welcome, Natalie. And Lisa, you do. I have thoughts. Okay, and oh, by the way, you get the Thrive Journal if you're in the Thrive Circle. Just saying. You guys, I'm a hard sell, but really, I will tell you all that the Thrive Circle is the 7-week journey that uses your core values as a foundation for all that we do. So if this is of interest to you, please reach out and just ask me questions. I'm happy to talk with you about it. Okay. So once you know what your core values are, then you have this opportunity to attune and embody them, right? These are daily practices. It could be weekly if that feels more realistic to start, right? But these are practices to give yourself that opportunity. It might feel like experimentation for a little bit, okay? Now, the one caveat that I will make, because I was about to say you can't really go wrong. The one caveat the one exception that I would say is, while you can't get it wrong, there is a difference between an aspirational value and your core value. The aspirational value is the thing that you want to embody. It is not necessarily the thing that makes you the truest you. It is not that trait that you rely on in that moment of adversity or when you need to be resilient. Okay. An aspirational value is usually based on a judgment or a not enough feeling or something along those lines. Okay. So attuning to an aspirational value can be a good practice, but it's not going to create the same transformation within. Does that make sense? Okay. Natalie says, I think this journal is a great tool. In spirit of honesty, I'm not the best about being regimented with this stuff. Yes, you guys. So the accountability piece, it's so important, right? I have people that have this journal and they're like, oh yeah, the journal, which is why I've actually, right, the Thrive Circle, many of you know, was something that I wasn't going to do. I created it and I kind of put it on a shelf. But the fact that it's weekly creates that sense of accountability because we actually go through some of these exercises together each week. And so it creates a new habit within the community then you feel supported to go on and continue these things on your own. So truly, if that accountability is important for you, whether it's me and something like the Thrive Circle or finding an accountability partner to do these practices with, so important because our brains forget. Until it becomes an ingrained habit, our brains forget. All right. So I would love to know what questions you have, what thoughts you have, what takeaways you have. Some of you have been doing this values work for a little bit. So I would love to know, is there something that you heard today or you've been struggling with this values work? Is there something you heard today that kind of unlocks a piece of that puzzle for you? Let me know in the comments. And truly, this is a cornerstone of how I show up in my life and in my work and what I hope to help my clients cultivate. So if this feels still ambiguous to you, please reach out in that email, schedule your discovery call. I can't say that enough. This is truly a time for you and I to go through whatever might feel sticky about this. And my business coach would tell you she hates the fact that my discovery calls are truly kind of like coaching discovery calls. They're not sales calls. If you realize that working with me might be something that would be beneficial with you, fabulous. But I tend to show up with just wanting to help you connect to what's most important for you. So please know that that offer is genuine and that I would be most delighted to support you, truly, and that I'm committed to that. I can tie in all of my core values words right now, but I won't. So let me know what questions you have, what thoughts you have, and or share with me one kind of takeaway. Sally writes, I appreciate the reminder that I need these things written and in front of me right now. Oh my goodness, yes, especially right now, everybody. Sally, such a great reminder. Thank you for just pointing that out and highlighting that. Some of you might feel like your day, you start up here and then you go like this throughout the day, or maybe you start down here and then you come up, or there are weeks where it's like that. We need to come back to these over and over and over. Oh, Athena, thank you. I'm so glad. I would love to know what resonated, right? What stood out to you? But thank you for that. We need reminders because we're human, and especially when life feels like it's happening to us. Having these practices written, knowing your core values, also helps you be more proactive rather than reactive. It's not to say that you're not going to react to something. I mean, it happens all the time in my life. And yet, when you have these written down, you're more likely to catch yourself. There's a reason my journal stays open on my desk, right? And that my page for the week looks the way it does, which is a lot of words, right? Oh, absolutely, Natalie. Please get in touch. Do the thing. Send me that email. Schedule your call. But having this in front of me, having it open on my desk when I come in first thing in the morning, brings me back to, okay, what's most important, right? What am I going to show up to nurture? Because here's the other thing that I didn't say in terms of the why of your core values, and then I'm going to be respectful of everybody's time, is without nurturing your core values, it's a little bit like throwing spaghetti at the wall. And sometimes that's okay, right? But some of you have heard me say in terms of self-care that self-care is fine and good, except how many times have you gone to get a massage and then by the time you get in the car and you're home, all of the like beautiful feelings of the massage are gone, right? Because you were frustrated by traffic or this or that, or you read an email that kind of took you way out of that zone. So when you know what it is to nurture those parts of you, you can savor that and stay there and absorb those benefits. And that's what leads to the long lasting, the sustainable transformation. Okay. Athena says, knowing your core values will also help you attract those people and opportunities. Yes. And what fills your cup? Absolutely. Right. Because you can start to use them as filters for decision making. Right? Does this, and not everything is going to align with one of your core values or all of them at the same time, but it starts to give you information. You're able to make empowered and discerning decisions as opposed to reactive ones or decisions that come from other people's judgments or expectations or shoulds. Thank you, Natalie. Yes, proactive versus reactive has been a theme I've been screaming at your team about in your life, in your professional life, and with your passion project. That, oh, by the way, everybody, Natalie, just put the link to your podcast in the comments, please, because it's more than a passion project. It's really fabulous. So let's just honor that. So there. I adore you. You're all of, thank you here. I haven't looked, I can't see my email. So I don't know if you have scheduled your discovery call or sent me an email. If you send me an email, I will send you the link to or the digital page for this intention and core value sheet. I will also send you those questions to brainstorm, those things to brainstorm for yourself. And I will also send you, if you would like, the list of the words that I kind of assembled from different places and a process to do that. I will send you all of that in an email. You can also ask me questions in an email or here, or send me a personal message. And please, please, please schedule your discovery call to answer some questions. Lisa says, I saw something, perpetual up and down. We have circumstances that create this insane ebb and flow. Yes, you do. And being proactive and focused on your core values and staying there is absolutely a vital part of your self-care, Lisa Frame. Yes, you are so, thank you. You're welcome, Natalie. Yes, Lisa, all the things. All right, friends, it has been truly a delight to spend this lunchtime with you. I can't wait to chat more with those of you that are percolating on these ideas. And I am going to put in a plug because it is just that important to me, and I'm committed to all the benefits that it has. To the Thrive Circle, if you are looking for accountability and as a bit of a system, for as little as I really do systems in terms of being directive. Oh yes, please go run, Athena. It's so fabulous to see you. Then I would really love to talk to you about the Thrive Circle. It is perhaps one of the best things, and it kind of brings in all the things that I've done, and it will help you stay accountable. You build those inner muscles from the inside out so that you can do more than exist. Right, you can thrive, and we all know how that's important. One of the Thrive Circle members, Kim, recently said, being in the Thrive Circle is helping me stay stable as I strive to thrive. I've identified what thriving looks like for me through her core values and how to intentionally create an environment that supports that vision. So truly, if that's of interest to you, ask me a question, send me a message. The early bird that for a bonus one-on-one with me goes through this Friday, May 1st. So know that that's there, and I would truly be thrilled to have you in the group. Tina, you are so welcome. I'm so glad it gave you some things to think that. I hope that you sent me an email or scheduled your discovery call. And everybody, oh, Natalie, it was so lovely to spend time with you as well. Mwah. And Natalie, everybody is linking to her passion project, her podcast. So have a fabulous rest of your Wednesday and week. Please let me know if you have any questions. Bye for now.